Ken, what happened in that Mets Phillies series? You were just there. What did you see?
That was a crazy game last night. And for those who didn't see it, the Mets scored four runs in the first inning, and then Jesus Luzardo retired, 22 in a row. So that was the first time in Major League history that it ever happened, that a team did not get a base runner after scoring 4 runs in the first inning. Luzardo was brilliant. There's no question about that, and that was the reason for it. But the Mets' whole season has been so curious. 45-24 on June 12th, 31-47 since. They had the best record in the majors on June 12th. They have the fourth worst since. And now they're looking at a real problem in the wild card race because their lead is down to 1.5 games. They hold the tiebreaker over the Giants, but not the Reds. So if the Reds do tie them, they've got a real problem. And guess what? Tonight they face Jacob deGrom at Citi Field.
What is a higher level? Excitement for the Phillies for what just happened, or concern for the Mets?
I would say both equal, Eric, because there should be excitement for the Phillies. The Phillies, even without Wheeler for the rest of the season, even without Trey Turner and Alec Boehm for a little bit longer for sure, they expect Turner back before the end of the season, Boehm probably right at the end of his 10 days. Even with those absences, they look great. They are 11-3 in their last 14 games. They just completed a 4-game sweep of the Mets. And they seem to have whatever that it quality is right now. And Harrison Bader has added a huge edge to that team. Maybe one that was kind of needed, a little bit of an injection of energy. Same thing at the back end of the bullpen with Joan Duran. So everything looks great for them right now. And I say that knowing that, of course, we've seen many teams this season look great and then all of a sudden crash. And the Mets are on the opposite end of that spectrum. So, yes, I am concerned about the Mets. I know it was just a couple of weeks ago they swept the Phillies at Citi Field. I know who is in their lineup. We all do. But they're not performing. Their starting pitching remains really problematic. Their veterans, the ones who aren't hurt, are struggling. David Peterson was pretty good last night, but it was still only 5 innings. And they've got the 3 kids going against Texas this weekend, Jonathan, and then Brandon Sproat, and then Nolan McLean. Those guys are really talented. We've seen that. But that's who you're going to lean on down the stretch. 3 kids we just saw get promoted to the major leagues. They've got huge problems right now, and their bullpen is another one because it has been inconsistent. And what's so odd about this whole situation is the Mets and Phillies went for the same thing at the deadline. Center fielder, Mets got Mullins, Phillies got Bader. Late inning relief, Phillies got Duran and David Robertson. The Mets got Helsley, who has not been good, and Tyler Rogers, who has been very good. It just seems these two teams are going in opposite directions, to use the old cliche.
All right, well, let's go to the Phillies since we've already piled on the Mets, I think, too much, and Ken's got a smile on today, so we got to go to the Phillies. And the article you wrote about Bryce Harper, a guy who came up as the superstar, the next LeBron James of baseball, all this and what his career is. Now he's at a point this season where you wrote Phillies leading man or supporting actor?
Right now, he's more of a supporting actor. Kyle Schwarber has been their leading man. Trey Turner has had a great season. Their starting pitchers have been amazing. And as I just mentioned, the deadline additions have been really impactful as well. Harper has had a good season, not a great season. He had the wrist problem, which sidelined him for a time, bothered him for a little bit more than that. So it's been interesting to see the dynamic of that clubhouse. And some people with the Phillies mentioned to me, I'm not so sure, they said, that Bryce is all that comfortable with this. He's always been the center of attention. So I asked him about it after last night's game, and he said, listen, I just want to win. I am fine. I'm going to be Bryce Harper. And guess what? My time is coming. I love October. I love the bright lights. I love the big moments. And he's gearing up for that, hoping that these final few weeks lead him into October to where exactly he wants to be.
Did he give you any inclination that that wrist is fully healthy? Did you ask, or maybe it wasn't even the situation to ask? Because somebody that hit me up the other day said, I feel like Bryce Harper's pulling the ball a lot more and not able to stay on it longer, which could be an issue of that wrist.
I didn't ask, but I didn't think it was an issue, Eric. Now, maybe I'm wrong about that, and maybe I should have asked. There are always questions that you don't ask that maybe you should have. But at the same time, he was really good coming off the IL. In September, he hasn't been quite as good, but it didn't seem to me, he didn't mention the wrist as a problem or an ongoing problem. So I don't expect that that's the issue right now. It didn't come up in the conversation. And again, perhaps that's on me. I should have asked, but if he was hurting, I think he might have mentioned it too.
I want to change gears here a little bit. The Phillies are doing awesome. But let's go into AL West here. Did you see this coming? I mean, we know about this Mariner team, how good the pitching staff was. We knew how good Houston was and how they've been. Have you seen this Mariner team? I'm sure you have, but did you see this coming at the end of the year here?
I didn't see any of this coming for any of those teams, not in the way it's happened. And if you remember, Todd, at the start of the year, the projection systems had all of these teams, the three contenders, with about the same records. And I remember Mike Petriello of MLB.com wrote about that, and that's what the projection system said. And it's turned out that way, but certainly not in the way anyone anticipated. So let's go through the teams. Houston, incredible injuries all year. They were without Alvarez for 3 months or so, starting pitching injuries all season long. They had 17 players, 18 players on the IL at one point. They're barely hanging on, it seems, right? Even with Alvarez back and even with some big moves at the deadline. Texas, one of the most disappointing teams in baseball this season. They looked like they were out of it. Then about 2 weeks ago, they lose Eovaldi, Simeon, and Seager. Garcia followed. And yet these younger guys, these inexperienced players that they've brought in, Cody Freeman, Michael Hellman, they've been the guys carrying the Rangers to this point where now they are back in contention. It's the oddest thing. And then finally, Seattle. Now, we think of Seattle as this pitching monster, right? But they haven't quite been as good pitching-wise as they've been in the past. Part of that is injuries. Now, Brian Woo's been great, probably a top 5 Cy Young finisher, but the others have been hurt, inconsistent, whatever you want to say about them. And their offense has been, again, kind of an in-and-out offense, but better at home, certainly, and better of late. So they're right there. I don't know who's going to win this thing. I do know that each of these teams, like virtually every contender this year, has taken a circuitous path to where they are right now. But it's going to be a fun final stretch for those teams for sure.
In your opinion, which of the 3 teams, if they don't make it, because one of the 3 will not make the playoffs, will have more long-lasting ramifications? Is it the Astros because they got rid of stars, and it's like, hey, we can't keep getting rid of stars like we have because in the past it's worked? Is it the Mariners? Hey, we can't go all in like we did. Is it the Rangers? We can't start slow. So which ramification will have will have the longest long-term ramification based on if they don't make it?
Eric, that is a great question. I don't know the answer. We do know that when teams experience disappointing seasons, play below expectations, that changes often are made, front office-wise, manager-wise, coaching, whatever the case might be. So depending on which team is out and which team disappoints the most, I guess, we may see some change along those lines. As far as long-lasting ramifications, the Astros are in an interesting position that way. Altuve's getting older, and they have lost Tucker and Bregman over the years. Correa is back now. Cam Smith, he struggled a bit as a rookie since that hot start, but he could be a star of the future. And they still have pitching, but Framber Valdez is a free agent. So they might be in the most precarious state, even with Alvarez signed long-term. It's difficult to say. The Mariners, too, are a funny operation because if they miss the playoffs, how long do they give Jerry Dipoto, their president of baseball operations, time to keep going in this fashion when they keep missing? I don't know that he did anything wrong here. Their team is good. He did well at the deadline, but I do wonder if their ownership, which historically has been inert, would maybe say, I don't know, it's time for something different.
FT fam, let's talk about Fair Harbor. And if you're listening, I hope that you watch this conversation at some point because we're doing show and tell, Kratz. Shorts, they can be used as a bathing suit, and the liner, which we call butter, is the game breaker. It's the playmaker because it's different.
You've worn shorts that are not like this, and the liner sucks. They are buttery on your butt.
I just came up with something for them. Your liner sucks. Get Fair Harbor liner. Seriously, give it a shot. I'm not just saying this. The butter analogy plays. And FT fam, you know we're hooking you up. So head over to fairharborclothing.com/foul20. Yes, that's FOUL 20 for 20% off your order. Once again, that's fairharborclothing.com/FOUL20 for 20% off. And make sure you use that promo code FOUL20.
Ken, I'm going to plug some other work that you put up in The Athletic this week. So you have an article after a disappointing 2025. These 4 MLB teams might be ready for success in 2026. You know which team I'm picking because you also reported on the Orioles kind of quietly promoting Mike Elias to president of baseball operations before the season started. My 2 questions for you. Number 1, why do this quietly when you're coming off back-to-back playoff appearances before this season that turned into a disaster for Baltimore? And 2, this was a good point from AJ the other day. He's like, we should know the contracts for a front office leader. So my thing is, even if you're not going to disclose the money, don't you feel like fans have the right to know how many years are on a contract? Because think about it. If the Orioles miss the postseason again next year, we're now in 2 years of, in my mind, a disaster because you did 5 years of tanking for what? For 2 playoff seasons and no wins?
Scott, excellent points. And when I heard yesterday, and actually Britt Giroli got the original tip that he was president of baseball operations, I thought, okay, this is the way the Orioles are going to do this. They're going to elevate him now, eliminate any questions about his future, bolster their front office by hiring a GM under him. And then upon further reporting, we learned that this actually had happened last offseason, and they hadn't said anything about it. And it was really curious to me, and it remains curious to me. I am pretty sure at the time, let's assume this happened last November, December, they figured we're coming off 2 playoff years. We're going to have a great year next year. We might be even better. All good. We don't have to worry about saying anything. Nothing's going to be a problem. Well, guess what? They struggled. They had a bad offseason. Then they had a bad start to the season. I wouldn't say a bad offseason. An offseason that didn't correct entirely what they needed to correct, which was their starting rotation. And then the season starts, and people are saying, well, maybe Mike Elias shouldn't be the long-term guy here. If they had just said in December or whenever they announced that or made that promotion, this is what is going on, there would have been a lot less heat on Mike Elias. Now, maybe he doesn't care about that. Maybe they don't care about that. Teams often seem to operate in their own little bubbles, but in retrospect, it seems awfully foolish not to have announced that. Now, to AJ's point, teams often do not like to announce the terms of the deals for their executives and their managers for that matter, because at that point, and I've been told this by executives, we start the countdown as media and fans. Hey, he's got a year left. What's going on? Teams hate having any pressure on them, hate having anyone question them. So that's why they go about it. It's odd because certainly the players their terms are out there. And certain teams do announce terms of their managers and front office executives and just how long they're under contract. It's not that unusual, but there are teams that do not. And to me, it does a disservice to the fans and everyone else, but they're private companies. They can do whatever the heck they want.
That is for sure.
Yeah, it's CIA.
No
sometimes it's CIA instead of MLB. It's weird.
All right, I'm going to put you.
You know what? One more point on that, Scott. It's Major League Baseball, okay? It's not geopolitics. And sometimes I think you're treated like geopolitics by the people running the teams when it's an entertainment vehicle. And yeah, it's serious business. We all know that it's a $12 billion industry, but for goodness sake, let's not get carried away with ourselves.
Be transparent with your fans. That's all I ask.
Interesting.
That's what they want.
Yeah, I agree.
You got last licks.
Last licks. 2 quick questions. You don't have to go deep into them, but I'm going to put you on the spot, kind of. You know, fans deserve to hear what you have to say here. 1 spot left in the wild card in the American League. Yankees, Red Sox, and Blue Jays are in. Who gets that final spot as of today?
I think Seattle.
You can always change it. Okay.
Seattle or Houston. I don't see Texas getting there. Now, I'm intrigued by Texas. I think they're really interesting, but it's 2 games still. And yes, if Seager comes back and elevates them and Garcia comes back as well, but it just seems to me that Seattle, as long as they stay at home, which they can't do the entire time, but they're better at home, they're going to be okay. And Houston, I don't see falling off entirely.
All right, and then we'll go to the National League. Cubs and Padres are in. Who gets that final spot as of today?
The Mets. And there's no reason why they shouldn't get that final spot. It would be one of the all-time flops with a $340 million payroll if they can't hold off a Giants team that sold at the deadline and a Reds team that, you look at it right there, with the Giants, 2 games over 500. The Mets should be better than this. They should be able to hold these teams off. But at this point, after watching them for the last couple of months, the last couple of days, I don't know that I would guarantee anything. And it's just disturbing to see what they have become and the fact that they seemingly are unable to get out of this rut. I don't quite understand it, and no one around the team does.